Alright, so welcome back. So for this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to play the solo variant of New York Zoo. Now, I'm already under the assumption that you guys know how to play New York Zoo. If you don't, I have a how to play video of actually playing the game if you were going to play this game with, 2 players, 3 players, 4 players, etc. If you were going to play it with a bunch of players, there's a separate how to play video for that. This is going to be a how to play video for the solo variant, which does have some differences involved in the game. Okay? So let's talk about those differences. Now you can't see the whole board, obviously. But it does sort of end near my finger here on the right, my fingers here. It just goes over like maybe this much more off screen. So let's just kind of show what I mean. See, it ends there, and it ends over there. So you see most of the board at least, and we're not going to try to move the camera too much. Okay, so anyways, one of the differences in the solo variant is this elephant here. Okay, you have, in order to win the game, you must make it so that way this elephant does not complete its journey twice, okay? So what do I mean by that? Well, we have a space here and a space which you can't see next to it here, and then one here, one here, one here, one here, one here, one here, one here. I missed that one. So there's a lot of different spaces. And so the elephant is going to move just like normal in the normal game. It's going to move from space to space, around and around. But once it makes its first rotation, that's half of the game. Because if you can't complete the game by the time it makes it to the starting space, which is right here, so by the time it makes it to the starting space, the second time it makes it to the starting space, meaning you can actually win the game if it still lands on that space. But if it passes this space and you don't have your player board here completely filled in with, well, tiles, obviously, then you lose the game, okay? Big time, you lose the game. And then, of course, you continue playing the game after you've already lost, because you're going to have to keep going around the board until you completely fill it in. And then well, actually, no, sorry, I got that wrong. So yes, you're not going to continue playing. What you're going to do is once you lose the game, you're going to be deducted 1 point. So minus 1 point for every empty square here in this grid. So if you have a lot of empty squares, it'll give you tons of minus points. So there's obviously some variation of loss in this game. It's not just simply a matter of winning and losing, it's a matter of how much you lose and how much you win. So that's one thing you could improve upon in this game. You might lose a bunch, but maybe you can improve the amount of empty spaces that are left over and be like, oh, I lost again, but I only had 3 empty spaces instead of 10, for instance. So I'm doing better. So that's kind of cool. I like that, because the other game, when you play this game normally with other players, there's not really any scoring going on. So it's hard to say you're improving or getting better. But if you're playing this solo, you can kind of see if you're improving or getting worse. Now, how do you improve then when you win? When you win, it's going to be how many spaces you have left over that you didn't visit at the end of the game. So if you, for instance, landed on that space the second time, exactly there, you're going to score 0 points because you basically utilized every space that you could, maximum. But, like, for instance, if I was here at the end of the game and I completely filled in my player board, I would score 1, 2, 3 points. So I'd have 3 points, I would have won the game, and I would have 3 points. Of course, if I did even better than that, I'd have even more points, and I can say I'm improving in the game, for instance. So I really like that aspect of this solo variant, that you can see for yourself if you're improving or not. Now, another thing that makes this game different from the basic game, the main game, is we won't be using particular tiles in this game. So here's the darkest darker green tiles here, okay? We don't use them in this game at all. They don't get used. They're the biggest ones there are, and we don't use them. So that, I guess you could say, is another challenge. We won't be using the very biggest of tiles available. Another thing is we also have some more tiles that would normally get used if you were playing with other players. You would normally use these as well, because usually there would be 3 tiles on each of the action strip. There would be 3 tiles at each location that has tiles. But as you can see, there's only 2 at each location, because that's the maximum you can have in the solo variant. You can only have 2 maximum each. So you place out the lightest green, and then the light green, and then the dark green, but you don't place out the darkest green, okay? And then once you've placed out the dark green, then you'll take off the tiles where you have 3 tiles at that location in the setup. And so you might still have some dark green tiles, like here's a dark green tile, but it's only because there's only a light green tile there. Or should I say there's only a green tile there. There's no lightest green tile there. And so some of these will have lightest green, and some of these will have green, and some of these will have, you know, for instance. So that's another thing that's a little bit different, is the setup is you're going to set it up like normal, but then there will be some things you don't actually set up, like this color, and there'll be some that you actually remove, but you still play with some of these in the game. So that's another difference in the solo variant of this game. You'll also notice there are these numbers here as well. You don't play with these numbers in the regular game. This is only for the solo variant. Now, here's where it's kind of cool. When you play the solo variant, you can choose which number you want to do first, and then you won't have access to that number until you've used all the numbers. Then you'll get all of the numbers back after you've utilized every single number. So what do these numbers mean? It means you can move that particular space. If you take this one, it means you can move 4+. So you can move the elephant 4 spaces or more. I wouldn't recommend doing too much, especially because you would lose. So you don't want to do the 4 too often. Obviously, you're going to have to do it, though, because it has to be taken at some point, because you won't get the others back until you've taken it. 3 means you'll move exactly 3 spaces, okay? 2 means 2, obviously, 2 spaces. 1 means 1 space, but what does 0 mean? 0 means you don't move any spaces, and that means if you use the 0 space, you actually can take the same action space that you're currently at. You can actually take that again. So, and that also means that the starting space here you can actually use the 0 on the starting space right here and take that action. Okay? Or later down the road, maybe you want a particular animal, but you want 2 of them to help you breed them, so that way you get these, you know, attractions faster, maybe perhaps, and that could be beneficial too. Or maybe there's just a really good tile that would work well filling in your player board as well. So there's a lot of strategy involved. Now, I haven't played the solo game before, so I am going to do a solo gameplay of this game in a separate video, and we'll see how well I actually do. You know, maybe I won't do so well. Who knows? It'll be my first time, so we'll see how it goes. But it'll just mean that I have so much more I can improve if I lose. So that's basically all of the differences in this game versus the regular gameplay, of course, as well. And so, and obviously, you're still going to have a bonus breeding. If you're playing a 2-player game or a 3-player game, there's a bonus breeding that happens, okay? So if you're playing the solo variant, there's also going to be the bonus breeding. If you don't know what that is, you can learn about it in my How to Play video of what bonus breeding actually is. But then everything else is basically the same. So we'll see how long this game goes. It says this solo variant is only 20 minutes long. But since I'm doing it on a video, it might take a little bit longer. But we will do that actually in a separate video from this one, okay? So, I will see you guys in the next video. But before that, I also get to start with the meerkat and the tree kangaroo, because on my player board it says meerkat and tree kangaroo on the edges there, okay? And you also want to make sure you find the player board that has this one one player symbol on it, because that's the one you're going to use. You also notice that I get to have 4 animal houses instead of 3. Most of the player boards only have 3, some of them only have 2, and there's even a couple that might have 4, but this is one of the ones that's going to have 4. It's also got possibly a little bit extra spaces to fill in as well, maybe, than the one I played with last time. But that's basically all there is to know about this solo game. And also, I think what we'll do is, for the solo gameplay, when I put an animal in the animal house, I will put it face down like this, so you can kind of tell what the animal is. And then when I put it onto the tiles in the actual enclosures, they will be standing up. So you won't see them as easily, of course. But hopefully you'll get to see most of them in all their glory, face down like this, at least in the animal houses. Okay? Alright, so, and I think what we'll do is we'll also, if we can, we'll put the elephant down like that. Although it does sort of block the animals, that location. Anyways, so I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the gameplay. Watch me lose, or watch me win. Who's to say what will happen?